light and heat. Time to take a stand, boys. Time to make a choice. Time to find our courage. Time to be deployed. Make our only stand here. Make our roads complete. All we waited for now, past and future meet. Get your weapons ready. Kiss loved ones goodbye. Now our time is coming, and it is not the time to cry. Settle wrong from right. In the time of conflict, when the bullets fly, in the space of seconds, a life you cannot buy. Face the facts before you, face the simple truth. We're hopelessly outnumbered, it's tragic but it's true. Make your last formation, take the final road. Now it's time for endings, now it's time to go. It's what I'm talking about. Oh, am I hyped for this cast? Yeah. That is what I'm talking about. What is going on, Arvonauts? Hello. Welcome, everybody, to a Friday night stream. It is December 16th, 9:30 p.m., and I am extremely excited. I had a wonderful day today. I had a great day with my daughter. We spent a lot of time together. We got some Christmas gifts. We got a Christmas tree for my mother-in-law. We got cards. We got the whole thing. We had some good food. We went to this crazy outside winter wonderland thing, which was awesome. And my daughter is now on break until the new year, and I have a lot of work I have to do over the weekend and stuff, but I had a great time today, and I am really, really looking forward to the cast tonight. I think this is going to be a first on Twitch, actually, and I really would love this to be spread far and wide because I'm super pumped about it. Before we get started, I want to mention a couple things, if I can, just to remind everybody about how to support the stream. First of all, a lot of you have already done this, so if you have, thank you so much, but if you haven't, please tweet the hell out of this stream. Please retweet it. Please let everybody know. Spread the word. Tell people anywhere you can, because I'm really excited about this cast tonight, so please do this if you possibly can. That's step one. Step two is, of course, to do all the things to support the channel by joining the various things. Exclamation point Steam group to get you over to my Steam group. Exclamation point ArvTube so you can hang out and check out the past broadcasts of the stream on YouTube. Exclamation point, of course, CTT, which will allow you to retweet the stream, I believe. And exclamation point ArvTrayon, currently sitting at 443. I would love to get this thing to 500 or north of 500. Thank you for all the hosts today, by the way. Thanks, Sebadius. Thanks, Seb. I appreciate it, man, very much. But if you guys can, please make sure to check out the Patreon, because I really want to give these Arvocalists a raise. They really are super awesome, and we have a full complement today. Quick note about schedule: tomorrow is Dungeons and Dragons with viewers. Next week we've got some gameplay going on. We're doing Shadow Tactics, which is the game of the month, on Tuesday. We've got my special holiday stream next Saturday. We've got D&D with the Infinity Beyond crew. I believe it is next Friday, but that's all happening next week. But right now it is my great pleasure to be able to introduce to you, and I'm unmuting myself now so that they can hear me. It's my incredible pleasure to introduce to you the most talented voiceover team working on Twitch, not hyperbole, and I am extraordinarily fortunate to have them doing our first ever full audio drama reading. So a reading of a book, not just a game, but actually a book, of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, probably my favorite short story. I think one of the great short stories ever written in English, for a variety of reasons, and these wonderful people are going to be doing it. So let me jump over to the voiceover event, and you can see that we have the full crew. The entire crew is here, and I couldn't be happier. Welcome to the greatest voiceover team on Twitch.
He's happy now. Give it time.
Yeah, give it time. We'll actually see.
Give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll see how happy he is.
So, chat, say hi to the Arvocalists. Thank you all for being here. And yes, welcome to everybody. I'm going to start with you this time, Trending. What is up, sir? Hello, happy holidays and all that. And what's going on with you? Where should people be looking for your stuff, etc.? How's life,
George?
Did we really?
Damn it! Joy to
No, he's
the
back.
world.
Never mind.
He's back. He's
You
fine.
is
He's back.
gone.
He's there.
Wow.
It just went off. I was like, what the frick?
You're fine. You're all good.
That
And
doesn't
there goes the
sound like
webcam.
you,
It all worked.
Yeah, now Russ's webcam's not working.
What? No, Russ is there.
Well, at least for me, it isn't. I mean, what happened?
He seems very staid.
Oh, that's true. He's a little bit.
It's the only
Anyway.
part of Russ that ever shows up, and it was just like the top 2/3 of his
Right
head.
there.
Well,
It's
remember,
Right
just like-
before that happened, everybody froze. So I was thinking, I think my connection's going bad.
The
remember
internet
I'm
has.
just
that
gonna-
George is uploading while he's doing this. He's uploading the
Is he
music
really?
that you're trying to use. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah,
Oh.
Russ
That's
was.
why he started roboting out earlier.
Yeah, he was uploading Christmas music, Creative Commons Christmas music. So, all right. So, Tren, yes. So how's life,
So,
sir, and the universe?
While these people will be reading from A Christmas Carol, I will be reading from a very similar book around the similar time, which is The Book of Snobs by William Makepeace Thackeray.
Perfect.
Which
Perfect.
I found this copy, which I don't know if you can read the signature, but that's 1882. That I love this book.
First edition?
Is that actually? You don't have Zachary's signature. That's actually.
No.
Say,
This
I was like, why is that not under glass and in a museum?
Yeah, I know,
Like,
right?
Yeah, no kidding. No, it's Herbert D. Gale, who apparently was someone who owned the book
Okay.
before me. When I was on a kids show called Adventures with Kangarati, part of it took place in a bookstore, and they would just go and get books from like decommissioned libraries and stuff, and there were some
Oh, I love that
ancient books.
Really?
And I had a stack of like 12 that I wanted to keep because one of them had a teacher certificate from like 1720 from somebody who had gotten their teaching certificate, and I was like, oh my god, and it was just stuffed in the book, and I was like, I need to keep this, and somebody ripped out the core of it and filled the cover with expanding foam because they needed to make a bookshelf and they didn't want the weight of all the paper. So they just fit. And oh my God, I lost my mind. I was like, thanks, Hitler. Okay. So, sorry, slight
No, that seems
divergence from the
appropriate.
original question.
Well,
I like that in the middle of that he buries the lead. Like when I was on this children's show, like like when I was
Well done.
a
Well
a
done.
star as I was like,
no,
oh,
I
Yeah,
wasn't.
that's
I
fine,
was.
you
I
might.
was. I was crew.
Earlier
I wasn't
career.
cast. I did one voice.
you don't have to say that.
In 33 years, I think I've heard "buried the lead" used maybe 5 times, and in the last week I've heard it used like 20. When did that?
it's the new
Welcome
it's the new
back.
dankest
Get
of
new
memes,
life.
man. It's the new dankest of memes.
So the original
It's okay.
question, my name is Trent Sparks. Much like these folks, I'm a professional voice actor, and I do most of my work here on this channel. Most of you who've been here for a while, you know that. So, it's that kind of a thing. Russ, have you recovered yet?
I'm here. Do you not see what?
There we go.
Well,
Hello.
There's your
Now
video.
okay, there we go.
Literally, you waited until then, and then Skype's like,
I was
ah.
stalling. Yes.
Exactly.
Now his head is moving. Yes.
Yes,
That's exactly.
he's back here. Russ, what's up, man? So welcome to
How you
you,
doing?
Russ, and how is life in the universe and everything, and all that kind of stuff.
It's very good. It's very good. It's wonderful. There's a viral Harry Potter video called Hufflepuff Puff Pass that was released by a friend of ours. And you can
Is it
see
dank?
this incredibly dank video, and you can see Stephanie and I from the show that shall cameoing in the background of
Nice.
this video, repping our Harry Potter cred.
This-
the
this-
dankest of dank videos.
It's also going to get 7 billion views because this is what Russ does: is he shows up in every video that has 6 million views. He's like, "Oh yeah, well I was in the background of the new
Yeah.
Katy Perry legendary gold record hit." Like what? Like oh yeah, I was in that. You know.
The Wilhelm scream was me.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Can you imagine if he's the Wilhelm Scream, he gets royalties every time? It just
Oh my God.
plays Wolfenstein royalty. That's awesome, man. I'm excited. You should put a link. Can you put a link in chat actually to the to the Hufflepuff puff pastry, whatever you said.
Pass.
Whatever.
Try to clean it up. Try to clean it up.
Puff. But it's a pleasure to have you here. We are a full complement today. George, George is coming to us from this. Look at the brand. You guys can just feel the newness emanating from his studio, can't you guys? Like
What?
look at
It's
the
got a
it's
door.
new.
He's got a nudist
It's-
in
it's a-
there?
just
What are
look
you
at the
talking
door.
about?
I have a
light
door.
He has a
I have
door.
light
God.
switch with a dimmer switch on it.
Oh,
Isn't that cool?
That's
wow.
fancy.
Wow.
That's
So
all
that-
you're gonna get to see, though.
So does that mean you can control the level of intelligence in that room?
That's right.
No.
No.
Just hit the button.
Oh,
and,
that's
and-
set really low.
So
Because
welcome.
I'm on this show.
So welcome, Georgia. Welcome to your new studio, and welcome back to us.
Yes. Hi there, everybody. It's George Ledoux.
Hi.
People pay me to talk, and that's why I'm here tonight, because I'm gonna talk
Yep.
And talk and talk and talk.
I'm going to play Scrooge, and because I've never played Scrooge before, I'm going to play him like this. But anyway, no, things are going good. Getting ready for the holidays. Trying to keep my pipes from freezing because it's cold. And that's about all I can tell you right now.
Is that your water pipes or your vocal
Literally,
pipes?
your
That's what I was wondering.
Water pipes. Water pipes.
Oh, my pipes are already frozen.
Yeah, water pipes.
I have no hot water.
We were all
Yeah, all of
talking.
a sudden, my pipes aren't clear anymore.
We were all complaining about how freaking cold it's been anywhere in the
No.
in the vaguely eastern region, and Trent's like, well, I'm sitting here, it's only 55 degrees. I'm like,
Oh,
right,
52.
you can shut up anytime you like, you know.
Okay.
So like
But you can never leave.
right. Yeah, see
25
what
sounds
Rob is
nice.
showing, and see Rob, and I experienced this since, of course, Rob and I both live in New York City, and I was out in this today, and I'm like, I'm out with my daughter in this thing called Winter Wonderland.
Come on,
I'm like,
focus up.
why aren't there more people, here? And then I'm like, oh,
December
because
16th.
we should be, because we're freezing our ass off. That's why, because it's ridiculously cold. But not for the West
That's
Coasters.
what I look for.
It was warmer in Iceland.
Oh my God! But welcome in, BB. Thank you so much as always for being
Hi.
here. How's life and what's going on with you? What was the final tally on your charity?
That was 2,500, which was the goal amount for Rainbow Connection Animal Foundation. Mecha-Catathon is
Nice.
still open if you want to help some awesome kitties get
should
some
link
great
that.
medical care
You should link that, BB.
by going to mechacathon3.causevox.com, which I'm totally not going to type right now because typing is what?
Okay. So not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No,
but,
I am.
congratulations on that. That was really awesome.
Thanks.
I saw some of that. Yeah.
In return, they have bartered me a kitty.
Oh,
They
really?
have bartered.
No, it wasn't barter. I was going to adopt the kitty anyway.
Typing is old-fashioned, but so is
It
this story.
is.
So go right ahead.
That's good. That's a new process for you too, BB, because you've never had a cat before, or have ever had that as a primary
No.
portion of your cast, or
She's never dressed like a cat.
Dressed
You
like
see,
a
I
cat.
just stuck to tits for years, and now it's a little different. I mean, what's a tit when you've got
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you for jumping on that.
I like
before
how
she said what I was afraid
every
she was
single
gonna
one
say.
of the guys' window just had the same kind of like tight lip. Like, don't
What did
react,
you think I was
don't
gonna
react.
finish that? Oh.
I was really hoping
That
you
door
a
door
bird.
creak opened, and we
Art
just kicked that
major.
fucker even further open. Just let it go. Just
Oh man,
We're
love it.
professionals.
I love it. And
Are we?
Well, pleasure to have
really?
you here as always. And last but certainly not
Yeah.
least, Santa Claus himself. No, of course, Rob.
Hanukkah Harry
Who's back from Iceland and is
Yes.
back stateside. So welcome back, sir. How was Iceland?
So,
Was it everything you
which
wanted it to
side
be?
of this is I've graduated from the Elf Academy? Is it supposed to be on the left
Right,
side?
and then you move
How
it
does
over. There you go. Exactly. You need
Yes.
to toss that in the air.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah. So how
All
was?
I want for Christmas are Jews. Sorry, what?
Wow. I don't. Why should I bother to ask anything about
I'm
Iceland?
single, ladies.
Just continue. Just continue to go on.
Really?
I mean, really.
Man,
Yeah, I know.
suddenly been
Shocker,
distracted.
shocker. I'm a single straight man casting on Twitch TV. Who knew?
Oh man.
You do
Well,
remind me
hang
of
on.
a
Let me
horse I
throw a
knew.
rock and see if I can hit one.
How's life otherwise, Rob? How are
We'll go
things with
with Dragon will go with juice. That's fine. I
You
like
also
that. It's
because
Hawaiian
you
punch.
also had a Extra Life charity stream recently, I believe, Rob.
Had an Extra Life charity. Hello, everybody. Darkside Rob from the Game Crashers channel. Sorry, I'm going to do my standard open. What's going on, people? Yes, I had an Extra Life stream 2 weekends ago. No, was it only a weekend ago? Yeah. And we raised like a third of our goal for that. And then we have... Sorry, what? I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm
Flip
very
through
sorry.
All right, yes. Thanks, George. It's fine. It's fine. I only need my voice for this one. I don't need
Thank
anybody
you for
to hear me.
testing your lungs, George. It's good to be sure.
I'll just be the voiceover equivalent of Mozart. It's fine.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna die when?
That makes George Salieri in this theory.
Pretty much. Anyway, if these references just got weird for you, guess how I feel. Anyway, yeah. So we did an Extra Life stream, and I think there might be another one this weekend. I'm trying to decide what the hell I want to keep casting. We do have $2,000 more to raise, so we are going to do a couple more. I just have to figure out when. Also have some cool casts coming up between now and the end of the year. Started casting The Last Guardian, and have some cool Christmas Day, and which is also first night of Hanukkah, and New Year's Day casts coming up in December, which are awesome. And which I was just telling Arv and the other Arvocalists about before. The cast got started. I just posted my first semi-complete finished mixed track from the album that I've been talking about for ages on this channel on SoundCloud. It's soundcloud.com/Robert Austin James, I think is.
You should link that too,
because
Rob.
that's my full name. I will link that
Another
right
name.
now.
Not more pretentious.
My name?
Robert
Yeah, there you
Austin
go.
James III.
Yes.
Esquire.
Yes.
Esquire.
Phil S. Preston Esquire, and I'm Ted Theodore Logan. And we are A Christmas Carol. No.
It's gonna be.
I just linked it in the chat.
Nice. I see it.
So go check that out after the cast or now. I don't know. And there's hopefully more musica coming on my channel in the not so distant future. No, in the not so distant future. I don't know why I went.
Space?
Is it in a Scottish accent? A not too distant future. No, that was Irish. Anyway.
We're getting there. But awesome to have you here. Yeah, I'm really excited to have the full crew here.
And
yes.
if you guys were looking forward to hearing a lot of me tonight, I've got good news for you.
Good news, because Rob is the narrator.
Yes.
So
He
I
stayed
want
at
to
a Holiday Inn Express last night.
I made it as good news, not bad news, because I can live in hope, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly the case. So the sort of genesis of this was I have for the last few years read A Christmas Carol to my daughter because, as I mentioned, this is probably my favorite short story. I think it's one of the best ones ever written. I'm a huge Charles Dickens fan anyway, and so we made it a tradition to read it to her. And as I was reading it to her, I got through and I'm doing the voices and everything, and she likes my voices, and I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I'm like, it would be amazing if I had a bunch of professional voice actor and then I was like,
What a shame.
and I do. And so I just immediately
Blimey, where
thought,
do I find those?
where do I find those around? And I was like,
Where do I look for them?
and I was like,
Hollywood.
I want to keep sort of stretching out and having these guys do more and more, even for progressively cooler and cooler stuff. So I said, let's do it. And the nice thing about this is that A Christmas Carol is way into the public domain at this point, and is available everywhere. Project
Something has to
Gutenberg
be,
and many other
right?
places. So yes, so it's either this or a lot of Sherlock Holmes. But so we're doing
We
a
should do
Christmas
that too.
Carol tonight.
Wouldn't it be
and-
hilarious if we were doing the written version of Scrooged? I would love to do that.
Oh God!
Yay.
Exactly.
I do. That is one of my favorite Christmas movies, though.
The funny thing is, my daughter was like, "Oh yeah, we read this, except in my school it was all mice." And I'm like, there must be 80 million versions with like mice. I assume there's like a version with cats, ferrets.
I really hope
Narwhals.
she wasn't accidentally reading Mouse.
The Muppet Christmas Carol. There's
Wow.
just multiple.
Sorry.
Oh God,
Wow.
mouse as in MAUS.
Nice,
No.
George.
No, that's not like.
I had to read that in elementary school. That was a trip.
Yeah.
In elementary school.
Anyway, sorry.
Wow. Did they? I guess they didn't get it. They're like, it's a comic book, right? Like, not so much. Okay, but we also have
reading of Die
what
Hard.
Russ was kind enough to upload, which is we have some Creative Commons music, which means hopefully that all of this won't get muted to hell. So I'm going to start this. Oh God.
Hi, everybody. This is your old
The genre is
Jerry.
very. So you know.
It's that time of year again.
Oh,
Time for snow.
Yeah, that's
Time for
not going to be
presents.
great.
We're not going to do that.
I know you,
Oh, yeah, the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. I almost forgot the lyrics. Never mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to
yeah, get about
I performed
halfway.
that song.
I'm going to copy all of this.
Uh-huh.
Did you include a Derek Miller? Oh no, not Dennis Miller. For a minute I thought it was Dennis Miller. I'm like, why is
Derek
Dennis
Miller?
Why is Dennis Miller
Derek
showing
Hey,
up?
Miller.
everybody, it's Christmas, which is your favorite holiday if you're into capitalism. And
No.
Just like, I was like, what is this? Oh man, okay, so that's awesome. All right, now,
It's okay.
can you guys help me out in chat and tell me if the music is too loud or is it right on? Music
Can't
in
hear
good
it.
shape?
Oh, so you meant in chat.
Is
sorry.
it high?
Also,
Is it
this is by the
music?
way, this song's awesome. This is perfect.
What is it?
I swear to God, if YouTube,
Is it like
I want to say
nothing
this
but
right
sleigh
now.
bells?
If Twitch or if YouTube, especially
Meant
YouTube,
in
Google,
chat.
hear
Is it
me.
high?
Google, you put up all the cute little Christmassy things and like all the holiday things for everybody on your page. Please do not mute this, okay? If one of these things happens to somehow fall, it's goddamn Christmas music. Please, like, just let for the good
That's
of all
the
the
spirit,
people.
Arv. It's goddamn
Begging the
Christmas
algorithm.
music.
Goddamn Christmas Eve.
Merry fucking Christmas, people. It's goddamn Christmas music. Arvan Eleron. There you go.
But Chad, is the music okay? Is it too loud or is it okay? I want to know.
it, well, fuck you. It's Christmas, you
bloody
wanker.
Play on the program's sense of sympathy. Make him empathize.
So-
I kind of listened to the stream for a moment and the music sounded fine to me.
Sounded fine. Okay. Is it chat? Anyone else can confirm? Music is okay? Too loud? Good? Not loud enough?
Should I come back with a kitten?
is anybody listening at all?
Is anyone?
No.
Jedi says it's a
no.
little loud. Okay.
Oh, Jedi Knight says, yeah.
This thing on?
No.
There we go.
Please don't do that.
by Shira Kamen from Neptune.com.
Shall we rip
That's
the
true,
Band-Aid off?
They're listening to us solely through the stream. I was listening to us through the stream and you guys talking. So it's you guys. We all sounded a lot louder.
We sounded like
the stream. so-
Okay. Now I cut it back down. All right, cool.
Balance is a thing.
Oh, and I didn't do my thing that I always have to do, which is very quickly.
thing.
Thank you to all of my wonderful viewers: Vidistis, Elias,
So that-
Trendane, Takanji, Attentive Clubs, Roix, Poltergeist Zero, Piketty Fan, Pariah, Optic Nerve Productions, Nonstop, Norman, Murin, Ministrano, Lone Singer, Kilgore Trout, Jedi Knight, J-Rab, Jactress, Hand of Code, Game Crash, Zcag, Dr. Laser Falcon, I wonder who that is. Dragonite, Divinorium, Kamazoots, Brahms, RDV, Arcades, Apples, and of course my wonderful mods, Kale Satobo, and Dragon Spear. Thank you for the host, Chatter Mage, and welcome in everybody. And let's get to it, people. I present to you the Arvocalists in their audio drama debut, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great stories ever written by Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. Stave 1, Marley's Ghost.
Thank you, Arv. I think I will take over from here. A Christmas Carol, condensed by Dickens for his public readings. Stave 1, Marley's Ghost. Marley was dead, to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years.
Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary, legatee, his sole friend, his sole mourner. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name, however. There it yet stood, years afterwards, above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, and sometimes Marley. He answered to both names. It was all the same to him. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, was Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. External heat and cold had little influence on him. No warmth could warm, no cold could chill him. No wind that blew was bitterer than he. No falling snow was more intent upon its purpose, no pelting rain less open to entreaty. Foul weather didn't know where to have him, and the heaviest rain and snow and hail and sleet could boast of the advantage over him in only one respect. They often came down handsomely, and Scrooge never did. Nobody ever stopped him in the street to say with gladsome looks, "My dear Scrooge, how are you? When will you come to see me?" No beggars implored him to bestow a trifle. No children asked him what time it was o'clock. No man or woman ever once in all his life inquired the way to such and such a place of Scrooge. Even the blind men's dogs appeared to know him, and when they saw him coming on, would tug their owners into doorways and up courts, and then would wag their tails as though they'd said, "No eye at all is better than an evil eye, dark master." But what did Scrooge care? It was the very thing he liked, to edge his way along the crowded paths of life, warning all human sympathy to keep its distance, was what the knowing once called nuts to Scrooge. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, upon a Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak-biting, foggy weather, and the city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, who, in a dismal little cell beyond, a sort of tank, was copying letters. Scrooge had a very small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal. But he couldn't replenish it, for Scrooge kept the coal box in his own room, and so surely as the clerk came in with the shovel, the master predicated that it would be necessary for them to part. Wherefore the clerk put on his white comforter and tried to warm himself at the candle, in which effort, not being a man of strong imagination, he failed.
"A Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!"
cried a cheerful voice. It was the voice of Scrooge's nephew, who came upon him so quickly that this was the first imitation Scrooge had of his approach.
Bah!
Said Scrooge.
Thank you. Humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle? Oh, you don't mean that, I'm sure.
I do. Out upon Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer? A time for balancing your books and having every item in them through a round dozen of months presented dead against you? If I had my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should!
Uncle!
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way. Let me keep it in mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone, then. Much good may it do you. Much good it has ever done you.
There are many things from which I might have derived good by which I have not profited, I dare say. Christmas among the rest. But I'm sure I've always thought of Christmas time when it's come round. Apart from the veneration due to its sacred origin, if anything belonging to it could be apart from that, as a good time. A kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely, and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow travelers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and will do me good, and I say, God bless it.
The clerk in the tank involuntarily applauded,
Let me hear another sound from you,
said Scrooge.
and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir.
He added, turning to his nephew.
I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
Scrooge said that he would see him. Yes, indeed he did. He went the whole length of the expression and said that he would see him in that extremity first.
But why?
Cried Scrooge's nephew.
Why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love?
Growled. Oh,
Because you fell in love.
growled Scrooge, as if that were the only one thing in the world more ridiculous than a Merry Christmas.
Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle, but you never came to see me before that happened. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I've been a party. But I have made the trial an homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle,
Good afternoon.
and a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
His nephew left the room without an angry word, notwithstanding. The clerk, letting Scrooge's nephew out, had let 2 other people in. They were portly gentlemen, pleasant to behold, and now stood with their hats off in Scrooge's office. They had books and papers in their hands and bowed to him.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
Said one of the gentlemen, referring to his list.
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago, this very night.
Oh, well, at this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge,
Said the gentleman, taking up a pen.
it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of common necessaries. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comfort, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons, sir, but under the impression that they scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to the unoffending multitude, a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to be anonymous?
I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me what I wish, gentlemen, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the prisons and the workhouses. They cost enough. And those who are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
At length the hour of shutting up the counting-house arrived, with an ill-will Scrooge, dismounting from his stool, tacitly admitted the fact to the expectant clerk in the tank, who instantly snuffed his candle out and put on his hat.
You want all day tomorrow, I suppose.
That's you, Russ.
If quite convenient, sir.
It is not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself mightily ill-used, I'll be bound.
Yes, sir.
And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work. Oh, he froze.
Oh.
It's only
Uh-oh.
Once a year.
You're roboting up, Russ. You might want to drop
We're
your
not ready
video.
for the Ghost of Christmas Future yet.
Yeah, we're not the ghost. This is not the ghost time yet. You might want to drop your video, Russ. Because we're roboting.
Oh, okay. It's only once a year, sir.
Better.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier next morning.
The clerk promised that he would, and
I will.
Scrooge walked out with a growl. That's not in the script. The office was closed in a twinkling. I've lost my accent. And the clerk, the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no great coat, went down a slide at the end of a lane of boys 20 times in honor of its being Christmas Eve, and then ran home as hard as he could pelt to play at blind man's bluff. Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. They were a gloomy suite of rooms in a lowering pile of buildings up a yard. The building was old enough now and dreary enough, for nobody lived in it but Scrooge, the other rooms being all let out as offices. Now it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door of his house, except that it was very large. Also, that Scrooge had seen it, night and morning, during his whole residence in the place. Also, that Scrooge had as little of what is called fancy about him as any man in the city of London. And yet Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, without its undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a knocker, but Marley's face. Marley's face, with a dismal light about it, like a bad lobster in a dark cellar. It was not angry or ferocious, but it looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up upon its ghostly forehead. As Scrooge looked fixed at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. He said, "Pooh-pooh," and closed the door with a bang. The sound resounded through the house like thunder. Every room above, and every cask in the wines merchant's cellar below, whatever word that was, and every cask in the wine merchant's cellars below, appeared to have a separate peal of echoes of its own. Scrooge was not a man to be frightened by echoes. He fastened the door and walked across the hall and up the stairs, slowly too, trimming his candle as he went. Up Scrooge went, not caring a button for it being very dark. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. But before he shut his heavy door, he walked through his rooms to see that all was right. He had just enough recollection of the face to desire to do that. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. Nobody under the table, nobody under the sofa, a small fire in the grate, spoon and basin ready, and the little saucepan of gruel. Scrooge had a cold in his head, upon the hob. Nobody under the bed, nobody in the closet, nobody in his dressing gown, which was hanging up in a suspicious attitude against the wall. Lumber room as usual, old fire guard, old shoes, 2 fish baskets, washing stand on 3 legs, and a poker. Quite satisfied, he closed his door and locked himself in, double-locked himself in, which was not his custom. Thus secured against surprise, he took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers and his nightcap, and sat down before the very low fire to take his gruel. As he threw his head back in the chair, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell, that hung in the room, and communicated for some purpose now forgotten, with a chamber in the highest story of the building. It was with great astonishment, and with a strange, inexplicable dread, that, as he looked, he saw this bell begin to swing. Soon it rang out loudly, and so did every bell in the house. This was succeeded by a clanking noise deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain over the casks in the wine merchant's cellar. Then he heard the noise much louder on the floors below, then coming up the stairs, then coming straight towards his door. It came on through the heavy door, and a spectre passed into the room before his eyes. And upon its coming in, the dying flame leaped up, as though it cried, "I know him, Marley's ghost." The same face, the very same. Marley in his pigtail, usual waistcoat, tights, and boots. His body was transparent, so that Scrooge, observing him and looking through his waistcoat, could see the 2 buttons on his coat behind. Scrooge had often heard it said that Marley had no bowels. Bowels. It is bowels. Okay,
Bowels.
I
Yeah,
don't know
you're
why
right.
that word threw me. Let's go back. I wanted to make sure I said, yeah, I'm moving
Let's read it
back
again.
up. Amazing that was the first word that really threw me in this piece.
You're doing very good. Very.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Scrooge had often heard it said that Marley had no bowels, but he had never believed it until now. No, nor did he believe it even now, though he looked the phantom through and through and saw it standing before him, though he felt the chilling influence of its death-cold eyes, and noticed the very texture of the folded kerchief bound about its head and chin. He was still incredulous.
How now?
Said Scrooge, caustic and cold as ever.
What do you want with me? Much.
Marley's voice, no doubt about it.
Who are you? Ask me who I was. Who were you then? In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. Can you sit down? I can. Do it then.
Scrooge asked the question because he didn't know whether a ghost so transparent might find himself in a condition to take a chair, and felt that, in the event of its being impossible, it might involve the necessity of an embarrassing explanation. But the ghost sat down on the opposite side of the fireplace, as if he were quite used to it.
You don't believe in me. I don't. What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your senses? I don't know. Why do you doubt your senses? Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are.
Scrooge was not much in the habit of cracking jokes, nor did he feel in his heart by any means waggish then. The truth is that he tried to be smart, as a means of distracting his own attention and keeping down his horror. But how much greater was his horror when, the phantom taking off the bandage around its head, as if it were too warm to wear indoors, its lower jaw dropped down upon its breast.
Mercy! Dreadful apparition! Why do you trouble me? Why do spirits walk the earth? And why do they come to me? It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. I cannot tell you all that I would. Very little more is permitted to me. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house. Mark me. In life, my spirit never roved beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing hole. And weary journeys lie before me.
7 years dead. Traveling all the time? You travel fast.
On the wings of the wind.
From the album The Castle of
You might have got over a great quantity of ground in 7 years.
Oh, blind man, blind man. Not to know that ages of incessant labor by immortal creatures for this earth must pass into eternity before the good of which is susceptible is all developed. Not to know that any Christian spirit, working kindly in its little sphere, whatever it may be, will find its mortal life too short for its vast means of usefulness. Not to know that no space of regret can make amends for one's life's opportunities misused. Yes, I was like this man. I once was like this man.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Faltered Scrooge, who now began to apply this to himself.
Business!
Cried the ghost, wringing its hands again.
Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, benevolence were all my businesses. The dealings of my trade were but a drop in the water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
Scrooge was very much dismayed to hear the spectre going on at this rate, and began to quake exceedingly.
Hear me! My time is nearly gone.
I will. But don't be hard upon me. Don't be flowery, Jacob. Pray.
I am here tonight to warn you that you have a chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope of my procuring Ebenezer.
You are always a good friend to me. Thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Jacob? I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow night, when the bell tolls 1. Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night, when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and look that, for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us.
It walked backward from him, and at every step it took, the window raised itself a little, so that, when the apparition reached it, it was wide open. Scrooge closed the window and examined the door by which the ghost had entered. It was double locked, as he had locked it with his own hands, and the bolts were undisturbed. Scrooge tried to say,
Hum.
but stopped at the first syllable, and being, from the emotion he had undergone, or the fatigues of the day, or his glimpse of the invisible world, or the dull conversation of the ghost, or the lateness of the hour, much in need of repose, he went straight to bed, without undressing, and fell asleep on the instant. Are we continuing?
Oh, yes. I thought you wanted.
Okay.
to
No, I got it. I just wanted to know if we were.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
We'll take a break after 2 if we need to.
Cool. Stave 2. The first of the 3 spirits. When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark that, looking out of bed, he could scarcely distinguish the transparent window from the opaque walls of his chamber, until suddenly the church clock tolled a deep, dull, hollow, melancholy 1. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn aside by a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium, which gave him the appearance of having receded from the view and being diminished to a child's proportions. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age. And yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand, and, in singular contradiction of that wintry emblem, had its dress trimmed with summer flowers. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all of this was visible, and which was doubtless the occasion of its using, in duller moments, a great extinguisher for a cap, which it now held under its arm.
Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past. The things that you will see with me are shadows of the things that have been. They will have no consciousness of us.
Scrooge then made bold to inquire what business brought him here, there.
Your welfare. Rise and walk with me.
It would have been It would have been in vain for Scrooge to plead that the weather and the hour were not adapted to pedestrian purposes, that bed was warm and the thermometer a long way below freezing, that he was clad but lightly in his slippers, dressing gown and nightcap, and that he had a cold upon him at the time. The grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. He rose, but finding that the spirit made towards the window, clasped its robe in supplication.
I am a mortal and liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand there,
said the spirit, laying it upon his heart.
And you shall be upheld in more than this.
As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood in the busy thoroughfares of a city. It was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here, too, it was Christmas time. The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door and asked Scrooge if he knew it.
Know it? Was I apprenticed here?
They went in, at sight of an old gentleman in a Welsh wig, sitting behind such a high desk that, if he had been 2 inches taller, he must have knocked his head against the ceiling. Scrooge cried in great excitement.
Why, it's old Fezziwig! Bless his heart! It's Fezziwig! Alive again!
Old Fezziwig laid down his pen and looked up at the clock, which pointed to the hour of 7. He rubbed his hands, adjusted his capacious waistcoat, laughed all over himself, from his shoes to his organ of benevolence, and called out in a comfortable, oily, rich, fat, jovial voice,
Yo-ho! Ebenezer! Dick!
A living and moving picture of Scrooge's former self, a young man, came briskly in, accompanied by his fellow prentice.
Dick Wilkins, to be sure,
said Scrooge to the ghost.
my old fellow prentice. Bless me, yes. There he is. He was very much attached to me, was Dick. Poor Dick. Dear, dear.
Oh, my boys,
said Fezziwig.
no more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Let us have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of room here.
Clear away. There was nothing they wouldn't have cleared away, or couldn't have cleared away, with old Fezziwig looking on. It was done in a minute. Every movable was packed off, as if it were dismissed from public life forevermore. The floor was swept and watered, the lamps were trimmed, fuel was heaped upon the fire, and the warehouse was as snug and warm and dry and bright a ballroom as you would desire to see upon a winter's night. In came a fiddler with a music book, and went up to the lofty desk, and made an orchestra of it, and tuned like 50 stomach aches. In came Mrs. Fezziwig, one vast substantial smile. In came 3 Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable. In came the 6 young In came the 6 young followers, whose hearts they broke. In came all the young men and women employed in the business. In came the housemaid with her cousin the baker. In came the cook with her brother's peculiar friend the milkman. In they all came, one after another, some shyly, some boldly, some gracefully, some awkwardly, some pushing, some pulling. In they all came, anyhow and everyhow. Away they all went, 20 couple at once, hands half round and back again the other way, down the middle and up again, round and round in various stages of affectionate grouping. Old top couple always turning up in the wrong place, new top couple starting off again. As soon as they got there, all top couples at last, and not a bottom one to help them. When this result was brought about, old Fezziwig, clapping his hands to stop the dance, cried out,
Well done!
and the fiddler plunged his hot face into a pot of porter especially provided for that purpose. There were more dancers, and there were more forfeits, and more dancers, and there was cake, and there was negus?
Sure.
Why not?
And there
Why
was
not?
negus. Sorry, I only know that as a Star Trek reference.
I know,
and
right?
there was a great piece of cold roast, and there was a great piece of cold boiled, and there were mince pies and plenty of beer. But the great effect of the evening came after the roast and boiled, when the fiddler struck up Sir Roger de Coverley. Sir Roger de Coverley. Third time's a charm. Then old Fezziwig stood out to dance with Mrs. Fezziwig, top couple too, with a good stiff piece of work cut out for them. 3 or 4 and 20 pair of partners, people who were not to be trifled with, people who would dance and had no notion of walking. But if they had been twice as many, 4 times, old Fezziwig would have been a match for them, and so would Mrs. Fezziwig. As to her, she was worthy to be his partner in every sense of the term. A positive light appeared to issue from Fezziwig's calves. They shone in every part of the dance. You couldn't have predicted at any given time what would become of them next. And when old Fezziwig and Mrs. Fezziwig had gone all through the dance, advance and retire, turn your partner, bow and curtsy, corkscrew, thread the needle, and back again to your place. Fezziwig cut so deftly that he appeared to wink with his legs. When the clock struck 11, this domestic ball broke up, and Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig took their stations, one on either side of the door, and, shaking hands with every person individually as he or she went out, wished him or her a Merry Christmas. When everybody had retired but the 2 prentices, they did the same to them, and thus the cheerful voices died away, and the lads were left to their beds, which were under a counter in the back shop.
A small matter.
Said the ghost.
To make these silly folks so full of gratitude. He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. 3 or 4, perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
It isn't that.
Said Scrooge, heated by the remark, and speaking unconsciously like his former, not his latter self.
It isn't that, Spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, or pleasure or toil. Say that his power lies in words and looks, in things so slight and insignificant that it is impossible to add and count him up. What then? The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
He felt the spirit's glance and stopped.
What is the matter?
Nothing particular.
Something, I think.
No, no. I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now. That's all.
My time grows short.
Observed the spirit.
Quick.
This was not addressed to Scrooge, or to anyone whom he could see, but it produced an immediate effect, for again he saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of his life. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in a black dress, in whose eyes there were tears.
It matters little.
She said softly to Scrooge's former self.
To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one. You fear the world too much. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until the master passion, gain, engrosses you, have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you. Have I ever sought release from our engagement?
In words, no. Never.
In what then?
In a changed nature. In an altered spirit.
That's actually her. Robin.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed
the whole lack of...
There's a lack of a quote.
Anyway.
I go where there are no...
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
Surprise.
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in another atmosphere of life, another hope as its great end. If you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, can I even believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? Or, choosing her, do I not know that your repentance and regret will surely follow? I do, and I release you, with a full heart, for the love of him you once were.
Spirit, remove me from this place.
I told you these were shadows of the things that have been.
Said the ghost.
That they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me!
Scrooge exclaimed.
I cannot bear it. Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
As he struggled with the spirit, he was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, and, further, of being in his own bedroom. He had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep.
You are listening to the Arvocalists doing Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and by doing, I mean spectacularly doing, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. If you like what you see and hear, please follow not only me, but follow all of their individual channels / various places that they work on the internet and elsewhere. Please contribute to the Patreon so I can give these guys yet another raise, as they are proving to you they deserve it. They are doing an incredible job, and I figure we can do one more stave and then take a break and then do the second half, if that sounds okay to our vocalist people. Is that cool? Yes?
I'm game.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, then on we go. And no, Mano, you're not allowed to unfollow me if you don't like what you see and hear. First, you must check your
snap.
evil Christmas heart. That's what happens.
You look-
Okay.
You know there are
really
only 2 staves left, right?
Oh, in the original. Oh, really? Because in the original,
Uh-huh.
there's more than that. All right, wait a second.
Surprise.
Stave 3.
You better check.
Stave 4. Oh,
I
yeah,
can scroll.
they combine the
Yeah.
last one. You're right.
My
Okay.
scroll is halfway through.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Wouldn't mind taking a short.
Okay, let's do that then. So let's take a quick break then. Let us take a, say, 2 or 3 minute break, and then we'll be right back as you guys listen to Jingle Bells as played by Sri Lanka, because that's apparently the version that we have here. But
You should
Trended
play
Rest-
the spit through MIDI, back out through MIDI, Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas, which is hilarious.
That's
and
awesome, and we'll not at all
drive
get us
everybody in the chat away
Completely.
or out of their minds.
Drive me away.
Little of both.
muted. All right, we'll be right back. Hit you guys in about 2 minutes. Hang tight.
Beautiful.
No, you can't see me.
That was track number 3 from the album Embrace by Anoop from Magnatune.com.
Christmas.
Though I doubt I'll hear from you.
I live far from where we lived when we were two. If you really wanted to, you'd find
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the stream, and you are listening to. You're having the great privilege, actually, of listening to the incredible Arvocalists running through Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. One of the things that strikes me as we're listening to this again is just what a great story this is. The characterizations are so well done, and you might have noticed that this is actually a little bit shorter than the full tale, but this was annotated literally by Dickens himself for public readings. So we all were in agreement that we think probably Dickens knew how to, annotate his
He's
own
watching
work.
this right now. What are you talking about, Arv?
Exactly.
He
Probably
proves.
watched-
From the
I
grave.
watched the audience when he was reading it, and when people were nodding off, he's like, "I'm going to cut."
He's like, I'm going to cut that part. Yeah, exactly. It's like a comedian going through his jokes. I love the fact that as we were doing this, a Ghost of Christmas Future, of course, who was a regular in my chat, shows up. And I was just like, you're there before your cue. He's like, God damn it, I'm giving up. Fine, I quit. All right. Like, it was really funny. But it's good stuff. So welcome in everyone who is watching this, and thank you all for being here. Please continue to pass the word and all that stuff around, and I'm going to hand it back over to the wonderfully talented people with Rob and Stave 3.
No, can you go for another minute while I do this yawn real quick that I'm not actually doing on the screen? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
outstanding. All
Anybody
right,
else
here we
got
go.
anything to say before we
Thanks a lot.
This is a kitty.
This is a kitty.
This is a
Look at the kitty.
Look at the
Look
cat.
at the kitty. I would love to move forward, except that there's another kitty blocking my wheels, and I am disinclined to run her over.
Oh.
And I'm putting the itchy hat back on just for you people because
Nice.
I love you
It
all.
really does
Merry
make a difference.
Christmas.
It really does.
It's the itch that keeps on itching.
I had that one.
Nice.
All right.
Hi, good.
Ready when you are.
I need more gruel than I have.
I am so ready.
Nope, not ready anymore.
Are you the ghost of Christmas past? Yes, you were.
He's the cat of Christmas past.
The cat of Christmas.
All right.
That's Fuzzy Wig, not Fezziwig.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I love
She's a bit
And not
small of
Fez
stature.
Gig. Not Fez Gig either. That's
No.
Yeah.
sorry, it's distracting.
That's a whole other.
Trending should have gone off.
Stave 3. No. All right, we ready?
Mhm.
Do it.
Oh.
Yeah. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Continuing. Stave 3. The second of the three spirits. Scrooge awoke in his bedroom. There was no doubt about that. But it and his own adjoining sitting room, into which he shuffled in his slippers, attracted by a great light there, had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove. The leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, as if many little mirrors had been scattered there, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as that petrification of a hearth had never known in Scrooge's lifetime, or Marley's, or for many a winter season gone. Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, brawn, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chili peppers, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense twelfth cakes, and great bowls of punch. In easy state upon this couch there sat a giant glorious to see. In easy state upon this couch there sat a giant glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and who raised it high to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door.
Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the like of me before.
Possibly muted, George.
Never.
Yeah.
Very true.
Sorry, I'm very sorry.
Speak up, man.
Nevermore.
Never. I've never seen the like of you. Never.
I didn't think so. have never walked forth with younger members of my family, meaning, for I am ever young. My elder brothers born in these late years?
Pursued the phantom.
I don't think I have. I am afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, Spirit?
More than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion. I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe.
Ooh. Scrooge did as he was told, and held it fast. The room and its contents all vanished instantly, and they stood in the city streets upon a snowy Christmas morning. Scrooge and the ghost passed on, invisible, straight to Scrooge's clerks. And on the threshold of the door, the spirit smiled, and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with the sprinklings of his torch. Think of that. Bob had been but 15. Bob, a week himself. He pocketed on Saturdays but 15 copies of his Christian name, and yet the ghost of Christmas present blessed his 4-roomed house. Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, Cratchit's wife, dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown, brave in ribbons, which are cheap and make a goodly show for 6pence. And she laid the cloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, also brave in ribbons, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes, and getting the corners of his monstrous shirt collar, Bob's private property, conferred upon his son and heir in honor of the day, into his mouth, rejoiced to find himself so gallantly attired, and yearned to show his linen in the fashionable park, and now 2 smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming that outside the bakers, outside the bakers they had smelt the goose and known it for their own, and basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onion. These young Cratchits danced about the table and exalted Master Peter Cratchit to the skies, while he, not proud, although his collars nearly choked him, blew the fire until the slow potatoes, bubbling up, knocked loudly at the saucepan lid to be let out and peeled.
What's ever got your precious father, then?
Said Mrs. Cratchit.
And your brother, Tiny Tim? And mother, what, as late as... well, as late as Christmas Day by half an hour?
This is...
Here's my mother.
Yeah, this is basically you, Rob, and then Russ, you're the 2 young Cratchits.
Oh! Where?
Surprise.
Here's Martha,
Okay.
Mother. As I told you, there are a couple of these little things that pop in. So.
All right, well, I'm not the first one, unless... Okay, maybe I am.
Unless you are.
Yeah, you are.
Unless
Yeah,
I am.
you,
Okay.
You are.
Yeah. Here's Martha, Mother. Here's Martha, Mother. Oh, Got it. Mm-hmm. Here's Martha, Mother, said a girl, appearing as she spoke. Here's Martha, Mother, cried the 2 young Cratchits. Hurrah, there's such a goose, Martha.
Why, bless your heart alive, my dear. How late you are.
Said Mrs. Cratchit, kissing her a dozen times, taking off her shawl and bonnet for her. We did a deal up of work to finish up last night, replied the girl. I had to clear away this morning, Mother,
Well, never mind so long as you come.
said Mrs. Cratchit.
Sit you down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm. Lord bless you.
No, there's father coming, cried the 2 young Cratchits, who were everywhere at once. Hide, Martha, hide! So Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father, with at least 3 feet of comforter, exclusive of the fringe, hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas, for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch, and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
Why, where's our Martha?
Cried Bob Cratchit, looking around.
Not coming.
Said Mrs. Cratchit. Not coming, said Bob with a sudden declension. Said Bob with a sudden declension in his high spirits, for he had been Tim's blood horse all the way from church, and had come home rampant. Not coming upon Christmas Day. Martha didn't like to see him disappointed, if it were only in joke, so she came out prematurely from behind the closet door and ran into his arms, while the two young Cratchits hustled Tiny Tim and bore him off to the wash house, that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper.
And how did little Tim behave?
Asked Mrs. Cratchit, when she had rallied Bob on his credulity, and Bob had hugged his daughter to his heart's content.
As good as gold,
said Bob.
And better. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much, and he thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in church, because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember, upon Christmas Day, who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
Bob's voice was tremulous when he told them this, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. His active little crutch was heard upon the floor, and back came Tiny Tim before another word was spoken, escorted by his brother and sister to his stool beside the fire, while Bob, turning up his cuffs, as if, poor fellow, they were capable of being made more shabby, compounded some hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemons, and stirred it round and put it on the hob to simmer. Master Peter and the two ubiquitous young Cratchits went to fetch the goose, with which they soon returned in high procession. Mrs. Cratchit made the gravy, ready beforehand in a little saucepan, hissing hot. Master Peter mashed the potatoes with incredible vigour. Miss Belinda sweetened up the applesauce. Martha dusted the hot plates. Bob took Tiny Tim beside him in a tiny corner at the table. The two young Cratchits set the chairs for everybody, not forgetting themselves, and mounting guard upon their posts, crammed spoons into their little mouths lest they should shriek for goose before their turn came to be helped. At last, the dishes were set on, and grace was said.
Amen.
It was succeeded by a breathless pause, as Mrs. Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carving knife, prepared to plunge it in the breast. But when she did, and when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all around the board, and even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with the handle of his knife, and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" There never was such a goose. Bob said he didn't believe there was ever such a goose cooked. Its tenderness and flavour, size and cheapness were the themes of universal admiration. Eked out by applesauce and mashed potatoes, it was a sufficient dinner for the whole family indeed. As Mrs. Cratchit said with great delight, surveying one small atom of a bone upon the dish, they hadn't ate it all at last. Yet everyone had had enough, and the youngest Cratchits in particular were steeped in sage and onion to the eyebrows. But now, the plates being changed by Miss Belinda, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, too nervous to bear witness, to take the pudding up and bring it in. Suppose it should not be done enough. Suppose it should break in turning out. Suppose somebody should have got over the wall of the backyard and stolen it while they were merry with the goose, a supposition at which the two young Cratchits became livid. All sorts of horrors were supposed. Hallo! A great deal of steam. The pudding was out of the copper. A smell like a washing day. That was the cloth. A smell like an eating house, and a pastry cook's next door to each other, with a laundress's next door to that. That was the pudding. In half a minute Mrs. Cratchit entered, flushed but smiling proudly, with the pudding like a speckled cannonball, so hard and firm, blazing in half of a quartern of ignited brandy, and bedight with Christmas holly stuck into the top. Oh, a wonderful pudding, Bob Cratchit said, and calmly too, that he regarded it as the greatest success achieved by Mrs. Cratchit since their marriage. Mrs. Cratchit said that now the weight was off her mind. She would confess she had her doubts about the quantity of the flour. Everybody had something to say about it, but nobody said or thought it was at all a small pudding for a large family. Any Cratchit would have blushed to hint at such a thing. At last, the dinner was all done. The cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. The compound in the jug being tasted and considered perfect. Apples and oranges were put upon the table, and a shovelful of chestnuts on the fire. Then all the Cratchit family drew around the hearth in what Bob Cratchit called a circle, and Bob Cratchit's elbow stood the family display of glass, 2 tumblers, and a custard cup without a handle. These held the hot stuff from the jug, however, as well as golden goblets would have done, and Bob served it out with beaming looks, while the chestnuts on the fire sputtered and crackled noisily. Then Bob proposed.
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
Which all the family re-echoed.
God bless
God
us,
bless
everyone.
us, everyone.
Jerk.
Oh, sorry. I thought it said re-echoed everyone. I'm sorry, I didn't read the part afterward.
We all did it.
You cut off Tiny Tim, you son of a...
Right at the knees.
Is any of them left?
God bless us, everyone, except for that fuck.
Spirit, these people are useless.
They interrupt each other all the time.
Let's
Now
move
it's
on
in
to
our
the
book.
Flanagans.
We're now
ahead,
officially in our
Tiny
vocalist cast.
Oh,
Where
man.
were we? Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I believe it was God bless us, everyone.
Yes, let's start there.
God bless us, everyone.
Said Tiny Tim, the last of all. He sat very close to his father's side, upon his little stool. Bob held his withered little hands in his, as if he loved the child, and wished to keep him by his side, and dreaded that he might be taken from him. Scrooge raised his head speedily on hearing his own name.
Mr. Scrooge.
Said Bob.
I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed.
Cried Mrs. Cratchit, reddening.
I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I'd hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear.
Said Bob.
The children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure.
She said.
On which one drinks to the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fellow.
My dear.
Was Bob's mild answer.
Christmas Day.
And I'll drink his health for your sake in the days.
Said Mrs. Cratchit.
Not for his. Long life to him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy. I have no doubt.
The children drank the toast after her. It was the first of their proceedings, which had no heartiness in it. Tiny Tim drank last of all, but he didn't care 2 pence for it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. The mention of his name cast a dark shadow on the party, which was not dispelled for full 5 minutes. After it passed away, they were 10 times merrier than before, from the mere relief of Scrooge, the baleful, being done with. Bob Cratchit told them how he had a situation in his eye for Master Peter, which would bring in, if obtained, full 5 and 6 weekly. The 2 young Cratchits laughed tremendously at the idea of Peter's being a man of business, and Peter himself looked thoughtfully at the fire from between his collars, as if he were deliberating what particular investments he should favor when he came into the receipt of that bewildering income. Martha, who was a poor apprentice at Milner's, then told them what kind of work she had to do, and how many hours she worked at a stretch, and how she meant to lie abed tomorrow mornings for a good long rest, tomorrow being a holiday she passed at home. Also how she had seen a countess and a lord some days before, and how the lord was much about as tall as Peter, at which Peter pulled up his collar so high that you couldn't have seen his head if you had been there. All this time, the chestnuts and the jug went round, and by they had a song about a lost child traveling in the snow from Tiny Tim, who had a plaintive little voice, and sang it very well indeed. There was nothing of high mark in this. They were not a handsome family, they were not well dressed, their shoes were far from being waterproof, their clothes were scanty, and Peter might have known, and very likely did, the inside of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when they faded and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until the last. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, as this scene vanished, to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room, with the spirit standing smiling by his side, and looking at that same nephew. It is a fair, even-handed, noble adjustment of things, that while there is an infection in disease and sorrow, there is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. When Scrooge's nephew laughed, Scrooge's niece by marriage laughed as heartily as he, and their assembled friends, being not a bit behindhand, laughed out lustily.
He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live,
cried Scrooge's nephew.
And he believed it too. This is you, BB. Scrooge's
Is
niece.
it?
Yeah, sorry.
Probably should have told me about that in advance.
Yeah, I know.
More shame for him, Fred.
Said Scrooge's niece indignantly. Bless those women, they never do anything by halves. They are always in earnest. She was very pretty, exceedingly pretty, with a dimpled, surprised-looking capital face, a ripe little mouth that seemed made to be kissed, as no doubt it was. All kinds of good little dots about her chin that melted into one another when she laughed, and the sunniest pair of eyes you ever saw in any little creature's head. Altogether, she was what you would have called provoking, but satisfactory too. Oh, perfectly satisfactory.
Oh, he's a comical old fellow,
said Scrooge's nephew.
That's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here he takes it into his head to dislike us, and he won't come and dine with us. What's the consequence? He doesn't lose much of a dinner.
Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner.
Interrupted Scrooge's niece. Everybody else said the same, and they must be allowed to have been competent judges, because they had just had dinner and, with the dessert upon the table, were clustered round the fire by lamplight.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it,
said Scrooge's nephew,
because I haven't any great faith in these young housekeepers. What do you say, Topper?
Topper clearly had his eye on one of Scrooge's niece's sisters, for he answered that a bachelor was a wretched outcast, who had no right to express an opinion on the subject, whereat Scrooge's niece's sister, the plump one with the lace tucker, not the one with the roses, blushed. After tea, they had some music, for they were a musical family, and knew what they were about. When they sung a glee or a catch, I can assure you, especially Topper, who could growl away in the bass like a good one, and never swell the large veins in his forehead, or get red in the face over it. But they didn't devote the whole evening to music. After a while, they played at forfeits, for it was good to be children sometimes, and never better than at Christmas, when its mighty founder was a child himself. There was first a game at Blind Man's Bluff, though, and I no more believe Topper was really blinded than I believe he had his eyes in his boots, because the way in which he went after that plump sister in the lace tucker was an outrage on the credulity of human nature. Sorry about the clapping. Knocking down on the fire irons, tumbling over the chairs, bumping up against the piano, smothering himself among the curtains. Wherever she went, there he went. He always knew where the plump sister was. He wouldn't catch anybody else. If you had fallen up against him, as some of them did, and stood there, he would have made a feint of endeavoring to seize you, which would have been a reply to affront to your understanding, and would instantly have sided off in the direction of the plump sister.
Here is a new game,
said Scrooge.
1/2 hour, Spirit. Only one.
It was a game called Yes and No, where Scrooge's nephew had to think of something, and the rest must find out what. He only answering to the questions yes or no, as the case was. The fire of questioning to which he was exposed elicited from him that he was thinking of an animal, a live animal, rather a disagreeable animal, a savage animal, an animal that growled and grunted sometimes, and talked sometimes, and lived in London, and walked about the streets, and wasn't made a show of, and wasn't led by anybody, and didn't live in a menagerie, and was never killed in a market, and was not a horse, or an ass, or a cow, or a bull, or a tiger, or a dog, or a pig, or a cat, or a bear. At every new question put to him, this nephew burst into a fresh roar of laughter, as was so inexpressibly tickled that he was obliged to get up off the sofa and stamp. At the last, the plump sister cried out,
Russ, give me the plump sister.
That's not the line.
Oh!
At last, the plump sister cried out,
I've found it out! I know what it is! Fred, I know what it is!
What is it?
cried
It's your
Fred.
Uncle Scrooge!
Knocked him right out of the park.
Which it certainly was. Admiration was the sentiment, though some objected that the reply to, "Is it a bear?" ought to have been yes.
Shots fired.
Uncle Scrooge had imperceptibly become so gay and light of heart that he would have drank to the unconscious company in an inaudible speech. The whole scene passed off in the breath of the last word spoken by his nephew, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Uncle Scrooge. Much they saw, and far they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirits stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful, on foreign lands, and they were close at home, by struggling men, and they were patient in their greater hope, by poverty, and it was rich, in almshouse, in hospital, and jail, in misery's every refuge, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door, and barred the spirit out. He left his blessing, and taught Scrooge his precepts. Suddenly, as they stood together in an open place, the bell struck 12. Scrooge looked about him for the ghost, and saw it no more. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. Stave 4, the last of the spirits. The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. When it came near him, Scrooge bent down upon his knee, for in the air through which this spirit moved, it seemed to scatter gloom and mystery. It was shrouded in deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. He knew no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved.
I am in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Ghost of the future. I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company, and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me?
It gave him no reply. The hand was pointed straight before them.
Lead on, lead on. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know. Lead on, spirit.
They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up about them. But there they were, in the heart of it, on 'change amongst the merchants. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointed to them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk.
Okay, quickly. The three businessmen here. The first is Tren, the second is Russ, and the third is BB.
What? Oh, okay.
So take a random guess, and if you get your line,
So
then
starting,
everybody
it
else be
starts
quiet.
with, well, it starts with, it starts
So
with
one, two,
Tren
three,
as no. So
All right.
No,
Said a great fat man with a monstrous chin.
I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Inquired another.
Last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
God knows.
Said the first, with a yawn.
I think that was actually you, BB, here, but that's fine. That's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Go
What's he
ahead.
done with his money?
Maybe.
Narrator.
Hey.
Oh, ask the red-faced gentleman. Ask the red-faced gentleman.
I am an herd.
Said the man with the large chin.
Company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know. Bye-bye.
Scrooge was at first inclined to be surprised that the spirit should attach importance to the conversation apparently so trivial. But feeling assured that it must have some hidden purpose, he set himself to consider what it was likely to be. It could scarcely be supposed to have any bearing on the death of Jacob, his old partner, for that was the past, and this ghost's province was the future. He looked about in that very place for his own image, but another man stood in his accustomed corner, and though the clock pointed to his usual time of day for being there, he saw no likeness of himself among the multitudes that poured in through the porch. It gave him little surprise, however, for he had been revolving his own mind a change of life, and he thought and hoped he saw his newborn resolutions carried out in this. They left this busy scene and went into an obscure part of town, to a low shop where iron, old rags, bottles, bones, and greasy offal were brought. A grey-haired rascal of great age sat smoking his pipe. Scrooge and the Phantom came into the presence of this man, just as a woman with a heavy bundle slunk into the shop. But she had scarcely entered when another woman, similarly laden, came in too, and she was closely followed by a man in faded black. After a short period of blank astonishment, in which the old man with the pipe had joined them, they all three burst into laugh.
So the first woman to speak is going to be Tren. The second person, who is Joe, is played by Russ. And the third person, called Mrs. Dilber, is BB.
Let the charwoman alone to be the first.
Cried she who had entered first.
Let the laundress alone to be the second, and let the undertaker's man alone to be the third. Look here, old Joe, here's a chance. If we haven't all three met here without meaning it.
You couldn't have met in a better place. You were made free of it long ago, you know. And the other two ain't strangers. What have you got to sell? What have you got to sell?
Back to me again.
That's you again, Trenton.
Okay.
Have a minute's patience, Joe, and you shall see.
Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. That was Mrs. Dilber. I'm sorry. And then you say, I
Sorry.
beg your pardon.
JK.
Sorry.
Start over from the top.
Patience, Joe. Oh, wait, from the top. Oh, shit.
No,
Back
no,
to
no.
step one.
No.
Half a minute's patience, Joe, and you shall see.
And this is you, Trent.
Okay. What odds then? What odds, Mrs. Dilber?
Said the woman.
Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
Mrs. Dilber, whose manner was remarkable for a general propitiation. Mrs. Dilber, whose manner was remarkable for general propitiation, close enough, said,
No, indeed, ma'am.
And this is you, Trent. Yep.
If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, a wicked old screw, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying gasping out loud there, all alone by himself, something like that.
And this is you, BB. This is Miss Dilber still.
It's the truest word that was ever spoke. It's a judgment on him.
I wish it was a little heavier judgment, and it's when it should have been. You may depend upon it. If I could have laid my hands on anything else, open that bundle, old Joe. Let me see the value. Let me know the value of it. Speak out plain. I'm not afraid to be the first, nor afraid to see them, for them to see it, that thing.
Joe went down on his knees for the greater convenience of opening the bundle and dragged out a large and heavy roll of some dark stuff.
This is you, Joe. Yes, Joe.
What do you call this? Bed curtains?
Ah, bed curtains. Don't drop that oil on the blankets now.
His blanket?
Whose else do you think? Is it likely to take cold without them? I dare say. You look through that shirt to your eyes ache. You may look through that shirt to your eyes ache. Right.
Wow, I've forgotten how hard it is to read Dickens sometimes.
But you won't find a hole in it, nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had, and a fine one too. They'd have wasted it by dressing him up in it if it hadn't been for me.
Scrooge listened to this dialogue in horror.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven, what is this?
The scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bare, uncurtained bed. A pale light, rising in the outer air, fell straight upon this bed, and on it, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this plundered, unknown man.
Spirit, let me see some tenderness connected with a death, or in this dark chamber. Spirit will be forever present to me.
The ghost conducted him to poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling he had visited before, and found the mother and the children seated round the fire. Quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had looked before him. The mother and her daughters were engaged in needlework, but surely they were very quiet.
I'll take on Peter because there's 3 lines there. And he took a child and set him in the midst of them.
Where had Scrooge heard those words? He had not dreamed them. The boy must have read them, out, as he and the spirit crossed the threshold. Why did he not go on? The mother laid her work upon the table and put her hand up to her face.
The colour hurts me eyes,
She said. The colour? Ah, poor Tiny Tim.
That's BB.
That's still
Is
you.
it?
Yeah.
Better now again. Makes him weak by candlelight. And I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home for the world. It must be near his time.
Past it, rather.
Peter answered, shutting up his book.
But I think he's walked a little slower than he used these last few evenings, Mother.
I've known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder, very fast indeed.
And so have I.
Cried Peter.
Often.
And so have I, exclaimed another. So had all. Is that still the other?
Still BB this year.
Oh,
Is
that's
it?
BB.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the father. This is your father.
But he was very light scary, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble. No trouble. And there's your father at the door.
She hurried out to meet him, and little Bob and his comforter. He had need of it, poor fellow, came in. His tea was ready for him on the hob, and they all tried who should help him to it the most. Then the two young Cratchits got up upon his knees and laid each child a little cheek against his face, as if they said, "Don't mind it, father. Don't be grieved." Bob was very cheerful with them and spoke pleasantly to all the family. He looked at the work upon the table and praised the industry and the speed of Mrs. Cratchit and the girls. They would be done before long. They would be done long before Sunday, he said.
Sunday? You went today then, Robert?
Yes, my dear.
Returned Bob.
I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child.
He broke down all at once. He couldn't help it. If he could have helped it, he and his child would have been farther apart, perhaps, than they were.
Spectre,
said Scrooge.
Something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me what man that was, with the covered face, whom we saw lying dead.
The ghost of Christmas yet to come conveyed him to a dismal, wretched, ruinous churchyard. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one.
Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they shadows of the things that may be only?
Still, the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood.
Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends, to which, if persevered in, they must lead. But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus, with what you show me.
The spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, the trembling as he went, and, following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Am I that man who lay upon the bed? No, Spirit. Oh, no, no, Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this intercourse. Why show me this, if I am past all hope? Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life.
For the first time, the kind hand faltered.
I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
Holding up his hands in one last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own.
Your Skype connection was its own.
Exactly. No, I ended up. I had a issue with my other computer. Sorry. Continuing. Where was I? Yes.
Bedpost.
Bedposts. Right, bedposts. He was checked in his transports by the churches, ringing out the lustiest peals he had ever heard. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist, no night. Clear, bright, stirring golden day.
What's today?
Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes who perhaps had loitered in to look about him. Eh?
What's today, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, Christmas Day!
It's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. Hello, my fine fellow.
Hello!
Do you know the poulterers in the next street but one at the corner?
I should hope I did.
An intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one?
What? The one as big as me?
What a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck.
It's hanging there now.
Is it? Go and buy it.
Walker!
Exclaimed the boy.
No, I am in earnest. Go and buy it, and tell them to bring it here, that I may give them the direction where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown.
The boy was off like a shot.
I'll send it to Bob Cratchit. He shan't know who sends it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Joe Miller never made such a joke as sending it to Bob's would be.
The hand in which he wrote the address was not a steady one, but write it he did, somehow, and went downstairs to open the street door, ready for the coming of the poulterer's man. It was a turkey. He never could have stood upon his legs, that bird. He would have snapped them short off in a minute, like sticks of sealing wax. Scrooge dressed himself all in his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them, with the ghosts of Christmas present, and walking with his hands behind him. Scrooge regarded every one with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humoured fellows said, "Good morning, sir, a Merry Christmas to ye." And Scrooge said often afterwards that, of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, these were the blithest in his ears. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but he made a dash and did it.
Is your master at home, my dear?
Said Scrooge to the girl. Nice girl, very.
This is you, Mimi.
Yes, sir.
Where is he, my love?
He's in the dining room, sir, with his mistress.
He knows me,
said Scrooge, with his hand already on the dining room lock.
I'll go in here, my dear. Fred!
Why, bless my soul!
Cried Fred.
Who's that?
It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?
This is actually you, Rob, despite the quote.
Oh, this is... Okay.
Yeah,
this is the quote that was missing from earlier.
Yeah, exactly. We found it.
We found the
rogue quote. A Star Wars story. Let him in. It is a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came. So did the Plump sister when she came. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office next morning. Oh, he was early there. If only he could be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming in late. That was the thing he had set his heart upon. And he did it. The clock struck 9. No, Bob, 1/4 past. No, Bob. Bob was a full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come into the tank. Bob's hat was off before he opened the door. His comforter, too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
Hello!
Growled Scrooge in his accustomed voice, as near as he could feign it.
What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
I'm very sorry, sir. I'm behind my time.
You are? Yes, I think you are. Step this way, if you please.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
Now, I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore...
Scrooge continued, leaping from his stool and giving Bob such a dig in the waistcoat that he staggered back into the tank again.
And therefore, I am about to raise your salary!
Bob trembled and got a little nearer to the ruler.
A Merry Christmas, Bob!
Said Scrooge with an earnestness that could not be mistaken as he clapped him on the back.
A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Make up the fires and buy our second coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but in his own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further intercourse with the spirits, but lived in that respect upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. If any man alive possessed the knowledge, may that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. The end.
Yay! Huzzah! Wow, that was amazing, guys. Really, really great work, and a lot of fun. And there's some spots in it. I have to say, I sort of back-channeled Tren, and I was like, the Ghost of Christmas Present is a much bigger deal in the full version of this. And I was like,
I was
like, where's all the other cool stuff like Want and like I was like, dude, like, you know.
Next Christmas we'll read that one.
Yeah, we'll have to read the actual full one. Really spectacular though. Like, I mean, all of it, man. I have to say, my favorite part of that entire story, like the coolest part for me, is when Scrooge, right after this conversion where he's talking with the kid, and he's just like, remarkable boy, wonderful boy. I always love that scene. Like, it's completely like, you know, 24 hours before, Scrooge would have been like, you stupid child, I'll throw this thing at your head. So I love this. Any chance of getting this made in audio MP3? I will definitely look into seeing. The only problem was that although Russ did a great job in giving me some of the Creative Commons music, I'm not 100% sure about having the jingle bells from India as quite the sort of accompanying music for all of these things.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Printed.
It was an interesting experience.
I would love to hear I would love to have a copy of this.
It is a very good question, Ambrosine, as to why there's no tip everyone button. However, there are two things you can do to solve that problem if you really want to support these folks. First of all, each of them, and Dragon has done a wonderful job with DragonBot helping out. Maybe you could post that again, Dragon. Each of these folks have their own individual things that are either individual charities they're working on, their own projects they're working on, stuff like that. So you should go to each of their places to support them individually. Also, support the Patreon, because I want to give these folks another raise. If we can get that number high enough, I can give them another raise, and I would love to be able to do that. So please do that ASAP if you are interested in giving these people the support they deserve. That would be wonderbar. And you're right, Ted. I mean, one of the reasons it's certainly got darkness in this story. There's a lot of darkness. That whole scene with them like basically pouring over Scrooge's goods and everything. But man, I don't know how you can come away from it not with a big smile on your face, because there's so much humanity in it. And remember, Dickens lived in absolute poverty, and the poverty of Victorian London, you ain't lived till you see what they actually. It was like hell on earth. I mean, there is no poverty that exists almost that was as bad as Victorian London poverty.
Give it time.
Was really bad. Oh yeah, well, to this point, let's say. But really amazing job from everybody. Was there any, and I apologize for a couple of the curveballs that I had to throw you guys at the end because there were too many other extra little small characters, but as always, you guys handled that really wonderfully well. Was there anything that you guys had all read or this story before, right, at some point? Or
My familiarity was only from the movie Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Okay.
Wow.
I love that movie. Is fantastic, and it's actually a great modern representation of the. I mean, it didn't review well. It was a critical, a commercial failure, but it's gotten sort of a resurgence now. If you guys have never seen Scrooge and you like Bill Murray, you should check it out.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yep. There were a lot of great, and one of the most famous versions is Patrick Stewart's that he used to do as a one-man show on Broadway where he does every voice.
Right.
And that's just Patrick Stewart being like, check out how amazing I am, Royal Shakespeare Company,
So
but it is
true.
extraordinary,
Surprise.
including Tiny Tim, completely convincingly, by the way.
The thing that's interesting about even this cut down of it is that it is the meter of the sentences is almost written in a very sort of the first folio Shakespeare, which was the breathing and the reading and the continuation of a thought, or if any of you are fans of Shakespeare and you've never read the first folio is what a lot of actors who do Shakespeare turn to as their main tome to read from, because a lot of different reprintings of Shakespeare actually rip out the original syntax of the sentence structure, and the folio retains what we can get to as close to the original Shakespeare and how it was read aloud on the stage. And so having somebody as somebody who's done some of that work, this was very familiar to me, of that, I have a roadmap. Yay! That helps.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that actually, and just let me comment on that quickly as someone who's taught Shakespeare for many, many years. One of the interesting things about that is it's amazing how great Shakespeare is when you let Shakespeare be Shakespeare.
Bingo.
The fear that people are always like, they're not going to understand it. I'm like, put it on a stage and then watch as everyone, including my modern inner city kids that I taught when I was teaching high school, who were all like, that's an amazing. They were utterly blown away by the original language stuff. There's a reason the stuff is brilliant, and it's brilliant because it works so well on stage. Same thing applies with Dickens. That's sort of like, let's make it all like real world translations. You don't have to do that. You just need to show it on stage and let the action carry it.
And then add zombies.
And I just want to add one other thing, because I know we've come to the end of this a little bit earlier than we usually do, since we're talking Shakespeare and Dickens and all of that language and everything like that. But one of the fascinating things that I only learned recently about the prose and the iambic used in Shakespeare is, if you go, there's a video on YouTube. Look at it's like the original language of Shakespeare in his Rose Theater.
Yep.
And you've seen this, Arv.
Yeah, on the Globe, not the Rose. The Globe.
The Globe.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the Globe Theater. And he's a linguist, but I also think he works as the artistic director of the theater, and he's the way he's interpreted the text is not only from the writing, but from the period that it was discussed in.
Yeah.
That it was spoken in, and the language of the time, English as we know it, doesn't sound like it did back then.
Right.
So he did an example where he took two sentences, the way we would read it today, and then he took it back to how we, through reading through literature on the subject, how it would have sounded in the time of Shakespeare and the Globe Theater.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the things that you go to in the text was like, what the hell does this possibly mean? These words that don't sound like anything, they sound like words.
Yeah.
In the colloquialisms of the age. It's fucking fascinating.
That is a great video. And the thing that's amazing about that too, what people don't realize, we don't realize how much of our modern English language derives through Shakespeare. You know, so it's like you come back to it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Well, it should, because a lot of the words that we got came from Shakespeare. You know, the Renaissance period is an enormous explosion of the English language, and a lot of it is shaped by the dramatists of the day, including Shakespeare, who had an enormous impact on the language. So a lot of it, we come back to it and we're like, oh, this is I had no idea that we had this cultural impact. I'm like, there's a reason that we keep doing all this stuff over and over again. Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, I definitely second that. But to go back to Dickens quickly, the reason I love Dickens also is not just the language. He's really is a wonderful writer. But a lot of people sort of are used to him to like Great Expectations and Oliver Twist and stuff like that. It's beyond that, though. If you read Bleak House, you will read the most extraordinarily indictment of the legal system you will ever read anywhere. It is utterly harrowing, and he can do it because he lived it, because he saw his father go through it, because he had to survive himself, because he saw the inhumanity. He knew a million Scrooges, you know what I mean? Like that, he was surrounded by them, and there's so much humanity in Dickens that always comes through for me that it's amazing. So perhaps some of the, rather flippant treatment of the way that the women are treated occasionally in these things is problematic, but, we are talking mid-19th century, so it's a little bit of a mindset there, but still just a great deal of humanity and stuff like that. So anyway, did you really, Sat? That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. But that's amazing. I would love to be able to see that. The first folio actually printed in 1623. Yeah, that's good stuff. But this was great stuff, guys. I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every one of these casts. I've said that it's a great honor to be able to have these folks on here. But I hope that they enjoyed it as much as I did. And I also appreciate, because I know that this is a story that tells the story about the Christian tradition, and I'm conscious that is not, everybody's tradition. I love it as a story.
I'm right here,
Arv.
I'm right here, man.
Well, right. That's what. So I asked. So I threw it out there, and I'm like, listen, I want to make sure.
It was so sweet. No,
but it's not.
It was so sweet. The message you sent me yesterday too. It was like,
I just was
we're gonna do this thing. This is okay, right?
Well,
like,
I mean, because
yes,
and it's not just Jews, atheists or people of no faith. I don't want to just assume, but it is a wonderful story. And also, I had a feeling that people's acting desires might override their. And George was immediately like, I think as George and Trent both immediately got back to me and just like, I get to do this? And Trent's like, me do an audio drama? Haha, why would I do that? And he's like, silly. But yeah, so these guys did an amazing job. So it was
really a blast.
I think next year we should read The Gift of the Magi. I think that's what we should do.
Nice. Okay. Or we should do, what we should really do is the conversion of the Jews, the Saul Bellow story. That's what we should really do. That is a great
How about
story,
we
by
just
the way.
read a piece of the Haftorah? Will you, the Havdalah?
Very nice. That's awesome. We'll read the whole thing.
McGillicuddy. What do you?
I'll make sure that we introduce everyone right to left, so I can make sure I get that. You see what I did? It's a Hebrew joke.
Uh-huh.
Hi-yo.
We'll read a confederacy of dunces.
I love it.
Hi-yo.
We're fantastic.
But it was great. It was really great stuff. So thank you guys. And maybe what this means is that on occasion, if there's something which has a lot of different characters that has dialogue available, maybe I can bring that forth for these guys to use. That was the other thing, is that there were a ton of characters in here, except for the minimizing of the Ghost of Christmas Present, which is frustrating to me. But otherwise, a ton of different characters to do as well. So
you know what we should do? We should read some flash fiction on it. No.
You know what? That's a great idea. I think we should start with My Immortal. So
How about
Harry Potter?
How about some fan fiction? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
like Twilight.
I was going to say Dad of 50 Shades of Grey Shade.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
no. Shades of Grey Shade, right? I felt like when she said
Shades.
Twilight, she was going to deliberately mispronounce. Like Tweelite, is that what it?
Tweelite? Is it? I don't know. I only read like half of this page because it was crap.
Tweeligget. But great stuff, and I hope the chat enjoyed it as much as I did. Rob, I'll start with you. Where are we going to? Besides on my channel,
yes.
On the
and also, I wanted
Beyond.
to add one other thing, because I just recently found out that David Tennant is going to be doing Scrooge, but not the Scrooge you think he's going to be doing. He's going to be doing Scrooge McDuck. I did not know this. He's doing a new DuckTales. So there's another Scrooge coming in 2017.
McDuck? Really?
He's playing Scrooge McDuck in DuckTales in 2017. There was a video released today.
Are they allowed to get a Scottish guy to play a Scottish duck? I don't think that's...
Well,
it's never been done.
It's not that part. I guess I was just thinking
it's not Scotchism, so it works out really well.
I mean, he could also just play Scotty, from start. I mean, I don't know.
That was a really interesting tidbit because it's Scrooge, but it's not the Scrooge you're expecting.
Different Scrooge. Exactly.
Anyway.
Context
just
what?
glad to not sound like a pompous British asshole anymore.
Great, you did very well.
New York, let's do this.
Hey man, you did very well with that narration, Rob.
That was
really
that was
good
a
job.
lot.
I told you.
That was
I warned
awesome.
you.
No,
There was some text there.
There was, like I said, it was once I found the roadmap, I was like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
oh man. Only a couple of words, bowels and bowls, and I had them both show up once. Just once.
And there were only, I
The whole
noticed, like
thing.
2 little errors in this text transcription, and it was basically the quote, like 1 missing quotation mark and 1 additional one.
But we found it. It's okay.
We found it.
Yeah.
And a lot of
But
these,
I
you know the
hold
deal,
that
like
against Dickens forever.
a lot of these are like OCR type of deals, and like like God
yeah.
knows what they're actually writing about, like when they get the words on the page. So yeah.
Better than OCD kind of things.
Yes. Yes. So where, Rob,
right,
besides
anyway,
on my
on
channel
the
with
thing.
Infinity
Where
Beyond,
are we? We're on
where
this
else can we
show
see you?
together with all of you. Yes, Dark Side Rob of the Game Crashers channel. I actually have been trying to find some more games to actually do voices and characters for in the games that I'm playing. I always end up playing a lot of games that have either no dialogue in them, Hyper Light Drifter, or voiced characters in them, like the Souls games or Skyrim or stuff like that. I gotta find something that I can do some characters' voices in for you guys, because I do enjoy that. So check me out on the Twitch.tv/Game Crashers channel. Why did I forget the HTTP link of my own channel? I don't know.
You don't want to backslash.
Also,
it's a forward slash. It's a forward slash.
is it HTTP backslash?
No.
Whatever. It's a slash. It's a certain slash.
Yeah.
One works, one doesn't.
Wow.
50-50 chance. Flip a coin. Play the home game. Try it out. Anyway, I will be on tomorrow and probably Sunday. I don't know at this point that I'm going to be doing Extra Life stuff this next weekend, but I am going to be doing some Extra Life stuff between now and the end of the year. You guys will know when, because I will be doing Extra Life Gamepocalypse, where I'm playing shitty games to raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Amazing games like Rogue Warrior and Legendary and Sneaky King and Beowulf.
I'm so sorry, bro.
But it's all for the kids. It's all for the kids, so it's all okay.
Why play the bad games? I'm confused.
Because we're the only ones who decided to do that. It's sort of the TLDR on it is we started doing this section called the Gamepocalypse on our podcast when we were doing podcasts a couple of years back, where we would play a bad game, a really awful video game, and review it on our podcast. And one day we were going to do an Extra Life stream, or actually the first year we did an Extra Life stream, and I was casting and people weren't donating, and my friend was like, I have Pimp My Ride over here for Xbox 360, which is one of the worst reviewed games of all time. He was like, I'll donate this to you so you can play it on cast. Guess what? Played it, people donated, so we stuck with it. Now that's what we do now. We play the worst video games.
What works?
Yeah, I know. It keeps them coming back.
We play it so you don't have to.
Exactly. It's a perfect motto for it. And I have just released one of the first songs that I've ever released publicly to be located on the internet. It's on my SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Robert Austin James. It's the newest one on there. I also linked it in the chat. I'll link it again. I think that is still the same link. Check it out. There's more music coming. I will be doing some streams on my cast to sort of promote that and also play some of that music live for your viewing and listening pleasure. And I play video games on the internet with a camera pointed at my face and this microphone shoved right up here. It's fun. It's good. It's Laugh Riot. Come check it out. Bye.
Thank you, Rob. But just before BB goes, just want to thank the patron who has jumped in with another $4 pledge, up to $4.47. That is awesome.
Keep it
Please
coming.
keep that up. Keep it coming. I really want to give these guys another raise, so keep that money on a coming. BB, when are we going to see and hear from you next?
You're going to see me next tomorrow when I will be working on a Star Wars commission that is overdue by a year. So it's backlog clearance time on my channel.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any more emotes for a while, huh?
10th anniversary. His 11th anniversary just passed. It's double plus on good, shall we say.
Wow. That far back, huh? Wow.
He's forgiving.
The Department of Commissions.
Yeah. The Department of Commissions has decided to give me a brief stay of execution. However, because of that, we get lovely, fabulous Chewbacca. He's very glittery.
Awesome.
Kind of gorgeous. Yes, yes. That's what you'd say if you saw him.
Very awesome. So we will see that tomorrow. Tomorrow evening,
and I'll be
tomorrow
back on
afternoon?
Monday for giant stompy robots. Yeah.
Morning, afternoon, evening. Okay.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. Awesome. I
Afternoon
look
into
forward to
evening.
that. Thank you as always. Wonderful job today. That leads us on to George/Scrooge. George, by the way, before I let you go, I wanted to add, before I ask you to let everyone know your stuff, someone posted something about a character of the Conjurer from Nox, and I wondered if you happen to have done that character. I don't think so, but okay.
I'm
So it's
sorry,
fine.
no.
They
I have
posted it
not.
and said that they felt like you should do that. So their point was, whatever the voice was, clearly you should
But
have
you
been.
did a fantastic Scrooge.
You would have done a fantastic Scrooge. Wonderful job. In all seriousness, it was really great. So, is there anything you can talk about project-wise that you can reveal publicly or not?
Well, okay. I had given that some thought from when we first introduced ourselves. You can find me in 2 games currently. One is called Heroes Charge, which is a mobile game. I play several characters in that. Another one is called, it's one of these, what do they call them? Hidden object games. I seem to do a lot of these. It's called Spirits of Vengeance, something like that. I think that's what it's called. Spirits of Vengeance, Lives of the Great Queens. Now, this does not have to do with what probably Trendane is making a joke up in his head right now.
No, I was thinking of something completely unrelated.
He's not, but I am.
It's about the do with Queen Elizabeth I, and it goes on like that. Anyway, I get to play the bad guy, so that's always fun.
I think you'd make a lovely Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, well, I never get cast in the roles I want. I get cast in the roles that I'm handed, so that's fine. And that's about it for now. Lots of other little things, but nothing major. It's always looking for that next job. That's what a professional voice actor does.
Mm-hmm.
George Ledoux is hustling. Every day he's hustling.
We're going to continue to build up and build up and build up exposure. My goal is to make it so that all of you become this enormously popular and sought-after team that still is reserved one day a month, for my stream, just in case, for when you guys make it huge. So, like, even if you're like, I got to go out jet set off to England, you're like, listen, you got to give me a day because I gotta, that's my job. So we're gonna keep the exposure building.
Off to England, Governor. Before we go, I just want to say thank you for the chance to play this character. I've never been able to do that before. I've enjoyed it thoroughly, but I have to say that, as always, Trendane did such fantastic voices and characterizations that I just sat here going, I couldn't have done it that good. So he was great, and he is going places. So anyway, I just wanted to do that. But I have to get going because it's almost midnight, and I'm going to turn into a pumpkin.
Okay. So
can we watch?
Au revoir, George.
Thanks for being here as always, George.
Adios, Georgie boy.
And we were here for the whole thing.
Ice cream. What are you gonna
Well,
do?
a good night. You stuff your face with that ice cream and see what happens.
Good to have you back.
Nice work, you crazy Scrooge.
Good to have you back on board, George. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great night, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that leads us, of course, to Russ. Russ, I think you can take a chance to pop your vid back on at this point so people can see.
Can
the
I?
smiling
It's
face.
so dangerous.
It is. It
I
really
know.
does.
But you're worth it.
See? All right, turn it on.
Fine, turn it off. Fine.
JK,
I swear to God.
JK.
I swear to God, Russ,
that face, Russ.
I don't understand it. Is it like you live in California? I assume the internet is fine there. Trent is in California. The internet's
It's like 500 miles between
yeah,
us.
but come on, it's all the west.
all
It's all
have
the
internet.
same.
I think you've forgotten how big
California.
California is, Arv.
Oh man, so you're right. So I should realize
like the
that
size of
LA
New
is the
Hampshire,
less is the has less
Exactly.
money, right? Is that it? Oh my
People are
God.
digging up them optical cables
Oh
out of the
my
ground.
God.
They're worth money these days.
Optical cables.
They used to just steal copper. Now they steal glass.
Ooh, fiberglass.
Oh man. So, but in all seriousness, Russ, great job tonight, and I have to say, Russ, that you got stuff off to an absolute bang with freaking Marley. Like that guy was like legit, just like, Scrooge, you son of a. I was like, dude. So
You're throwing some chains around too, were you, Russ?
Oh yeah, I
That
got
was
all the
fantastic.
chains in the house available when you guys.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Wait. Why do you have that many chains available?
Let's talk about that
Them-
perhaps on a different cast.
Don't
The LA winter.
skin, or else it gets the whole
Exactly. So, Russ, so go ahead and post the viral video again. And
I posted the link to Hufflepuff Puff Pass, which we have very tiny little Harry Pottery cameos in. In addition to that, there's another music video, a short film in which I play an OCD serial killer of sorts, and possibly a pilot that might show up on Spike TV. Maybe, who knows? Could happen. We'll see if that exists.
Wow.
I'll let you know if it does. I'll post it on my website, which is russguberman.com, so you can post new stuff that I do up there.
You might also notify some of your close friends via email
I
instantaneously
mean, look,
upon this
I
occurring.
did it. Who knows if it'll come? These things exist in some kind of ethereal plane until they get put on the TV, and then they're in a different ethereal plane, and that's but the people see them there. So. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Awesome, man. And we will chat about MEP report stuff and so on shortly. But yeah, thanks, dude. Really, really great job as always. Tren, last but certainly not least. After that, after all of the sunshine thrown your way by George,
We're about to start the reading. We're about to start the reading of A Christmas Carol, Trendane. Are you ready?
God bless us all, everybody.
That's the last line. Shit.
Stop eating my lines.
Oh man.
Who played Patton?
Oh fuck! Oh,
it was,
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who also
The
played
version-
Scrooge at one point. Yeah.
Yes, it is that version. David Warner played Bob Cratchit.
Yeah.
And so when it gets to the scene with the pudding, and she brings it out, she puts it down, and he cracks it open with the spoon, and he tastes it, and he's like, "A triumph, my dear." I'm like, I remember this scene so clearly.
Yeah,
Oh my god! You know, and I'm like, that really freaked me out. I watched it because I was not young when I watched it, but I was certainly younger than I am right now. And so the Ghost of Christmas Present opens up his robe, and I thought those kids were his legs.
Oh, really?
I thought they were his legs. I was like, why is the Ghost of Christmas Present walking around with their children? This makes no sense. What the hell? What is this trying to teach me? So kind of scared the crap out of me a little bit.
That's a great sequence too. The two. Which that's too bad that ended up being cut by the author himself for the readings. But that's such a great sequence.
I was watching when we decided we were going to do this. I was watching the clips from that earlier, and one of the YouTube clips was him basically. It's like, okay, Ghost of Christmas Present can be kind of a dick, and I was like, oh yes, he can, and I like this guy. But the description of the room with all the holly and the ivy and everything and everywhere.
Yeah.
I remember loving that particular. That's part of why I love playing druids so much, is because of the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Yes.
Because that's the kind of that's. I imagine that's what Fifely's going to be like later.
Nice. Hey, listen,
older.
you could do a lot worse, right? And I was going to say the other thing that I loved about that was there's a real sort of richness to it, and it struck me that the actor who has not yet played, but you would imagine would have had to have played him at some point. Why is Brian Blessed not played that role at some point? Like just a man in, like, I mean, come on, like, or John Rhys Davies, one of the two. It's like, man, indie, like, I mean, something like there's something about the richness of it, but
why does the floor move?
Because it's welcome.
Yeah, but Tren, let me also emphasize, as I've mentioned to everybody, I was really impressed with all the stuff they individually did. I didn't have a chance to say to BB that I really loved the sort of the softness of the Ghost of Christmas Past, of the voice. I loved that. I thought you did really, really well with that. And I was thinking about that with you, Tren, because like the Ghost of Christmas Present, I'm like, yes, I have chosen properly. I have assigned the roles to where they should go. But I noticed that every role that I had given you was like big, fat, large voice. Like every single guy, like,
trying to
whoa!
say.
He's like, I have a different big, fat, large voice. Like, you know.
No bow.
Yeah, no, but
No
no
bow.
bow.
Now you're a big fat large.
Even deeper.
No, yeah, no. It's like you're like there's two things. One thing about Trendane and one thing about BB. Trendane, there's always like it's like on a synthesizer. There's that thing that drops the octave down. You're talking, and then all of a sudden you open your mouth, and there's a register that just none of us expect. And it's like
just a sound
the
wave.
inside of my head is vibrating. That's unbelievable. How is this? And then it's
My
and then
brain is a pudding.
yes, it's magnificent, darling. And BB, every time you do that sort of soft, gentle, that you just
one short of GLaDOS,
melodious ghost voice, I'm always like, the BB is coming from inside my head. What's good?
That's
How is
right.
this? How is this possible?
You're next, Rob.
I was just going to say, guys,
Kill me!
Oh my god.
And the narrator was perfect for me because I always narrate my own life, so it's just
no, it really was wonderful
from personal
stuff.
practice. It was,
So,
you know, it's
Trend,
like, I'm
besides-
walking down the street now, and
You should totally do that just on a regular basis. Like, I recently have narrated a Christmas carol, you incompetent boor. Now get out of my face. You know, like
that'll be my next vlog that I do.
I do that at work. I just like subconsciously just narrate things that I'm doing, and people
That's-
are just looking at me like it's like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
You
And
just
they
be
think
more
I'm
like
like asking questions, and I was like, no, I heard you. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
This is what we just did.
To
It'll
narrate
just be
this
like
as
the
a
Family Guy
Dickensian
joke. It'll just
story,
be
you could do worse. You know.
It'll just be the Randy Newman joke from Family Guy. That's all it'll be. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right. That's all the narration would be. It wouldn't be anywhere near as good.
Short
That's a
people
Christmas
have-
Carol.
Oh man.
What were you going to say?
But
No
Trent, I
reason
was
to
going to
live
say that besides the fact that you're going to be with the Infinity Beyond crew along with Rob, coming up very soon. Besides that, where else will we see and hear you, sir?
The other D&D stream that I cheat on you guys with, which we play every Sunday.
Yep.
I think we're actually doing a one-off this Sunday. We're playing a bunch of goblins. We're doing an evil campaign where we're playing the goblins. But that's over on the Exploding Dice channel. That's about it. Actually, no. There was a game that was up on Kickstarter called Escape from Pleasure Planet, which was the sequel to the game that came before it.
Which was
Arrival at Pleasure Planet.
No, it was my ex-boyfriend, the Space Tyrant, which I streamed
it was.
like back in the 1800s. And so since I backed that one, Escape from Pleasure Planet, it just went live yesterday. And so I'm going to probably stream that at some point. I don't know when. So just follow me on Twitter at Trendane, and I will send out a notification when I'm going to be streaming it. And it would be much fun.
Very, very awesome. And by the way, while we're on the subject of where you can hear Trendane, as you guys know, is also doing the audiobook for Greyshade. And I have to say that the publisher has been very pleased with sales for Greyshade. It's been doing apparently very well. And so that
Last I heard it was 27th. Where is it now?
It's I haven't looked lately. I mean, it probably has dropped off the top 50 because it is up against Anne Rice, etc. So I'm guessing that it's not in the top 50 at the moment. But it was up it got as high as 27 on iBooks, and which is amazing. But they're very pleased, and so that's good because it the audiobook of this is going to be coming out in April. And Trent is going to be doing the voiceover for that. And as I told you guys, I've heard the first 4 or 5 chapters or so that he's done, and they have been exquisite. They're a true triumph. So they've been great. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from that. The paperback version, by the way, of said book is coming out within the next few days. I have been told, the trade paperback of Greyshade. So, but anyway, I was so that's where you'll hear Trent as well. So I could not be happier with this. I'm so happy that this went as well as it did, and I want to thank our full complement. We had the full crew today, and it was awesome. So Trendane, Russ, George, BB, and Rob, you guys did great. Thank you so much.
And George.
I said George.
And George.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
I said Trendane,
Also
Russ, George,
George.
BB, and Rob.
And George.
And George.
And George.
And George.
And George. Scrooge.
And
George.
And George. They did an amazing job. You guys were great, and thank you so much. I will speak to all of you next month in official capacities, and the two of you
next
who are
year?
D&D, I'll be speaking to you much sooner than that. And
Next year.
what?
Next year.
Right, I'll be speaking to all of the rest of you next year, and I'll be speaking to the D&D folks sooner than that. But thank you all so much. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, etc.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus,
Festivus,
Happy
etc.
Festivus, and
Thanks
now
to
we air our
everyone.
grievances.
And George.
God
I'll just
bless
turn
us.
on my camera right before I go, you guys. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, wait, hold on, I don't have it up there. Wait.
I have to show you
Hold on a
Chewie.
second. Wait. Okay, do it. All right, you're on, I think. Wait.
Bye!
No, I didn't take you off yet. Wait. There you go. Now you're off. Go.
Now he's right.
Goodbye. All right, bye, guys. Thank you all. Love you all. See you soon. Good night. Alrighty, great stuff. Hold on a second. Let me get myself up there. Let's get rid of the hell. Let's get rid of this, and let me get rid of the awesome Christmas music, which was fun, but I've had enough of that. I want to thank you guys all for being in here with today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I loved it. Again, my favorite short story, but having it done with my favorite group of voice actors was even better. So I'm really happy it came out well. Next month, next month, my guess is that we're going to be starting up with the next of the Phoenix Wright games. I think we're going to be doing Phoenix Wright Trials and Tribulations is my guess. We'll be doing that next month, but I was really glad to do that. I would say that's my favorite too, Jedi. The Patrick Stewart TNT one is probably my favorite as well. I believe so. Yeah, no, I will do that, Dragon. I appreciate you backing up, you supporting, you jumping in to do that. I don't know what the heck happened to Arcana Spot. I don't know what went down, but thank you so much, Dragon, for doing that. I appreciate it. And you guys did a great job. And yeah, Hand, I will definitely check that out. I listened to a little bit of it. It doesn't surprise me that it sounds like George, but because George is really, really good stuff. All of them are. I mean, like I said, they're great. I mean, what else can I say? They're super great. And if you think they're great, please demonstrate it as well through supporting the Patreon if you can, because again, I want to get them back up there to that raised level. But I want to thank everyone for having been here. If you haven't already done so, please support the stream by following. Please check out my YouTube with !ArvTube. Please check out the Steam group with !Steam group. Please check out the Patreon again, !ArvTreon, which is sitting right over there. And of course, make sure to spread the word about the show, because that's the best way to do all of that good stuff. I will be back at you guys tomorrow early evening. I will be playing Dungeons & Dragons with viewers. We're hopefully going to be finishing up with Harried and Hillsfar. So if you are interested in playing D&D with me, then tomorrow is the time to stop by and do it. Remember, the key is you need to have a little bit of D&D experience. You need to have a webcam. You need to have a microphone. You've got to have a microphone. That's absolute. You need to be a relatively nice and normal person. You also need to be able to commit for about 4 hours or so to do the sessions. You've got to be able to do those things. If that sounds good, then you should stop by and join up with us and play some D&D with me. That's going to be happening tomorrow. And then next week on Tuesday, we're going to be playing a little bit of Shadow Tactics as chosen by the chat, and then possibly some D&D in the evening with GOG's stream team. And then moving on Friday of next week will be D&D with the Infinity and Beyond crew, I believe. And then Saturday will be the special holiday stream starring yours truly plus my family, my wife, my amazing daughter Senevine, and my incredible son Kalen, who just had his 6-month physical today. You'll be happy to know that he weighs 19 pounds, 14 ounces, and is 28 inches long. That puts him in the 90th percentile. And he had a great time smiling at the doctor and ripping the paper on the bench where they put the kids to shreds, and trying to eat the paper because that's what he does because he's a baby. But he's awesome. So you guys will have a chance to see all of that happening in a week. In the meantime, though, I want to thank everyone for having been here, and I want to remind everybody to do a raid. Dragon, do you have the raid thing up and running by chance? Because if you have the raid thing up and running, that would be awesome if you do have that. And I'm going to pop up and see where we're going to go raid, although I have a pretty good idea of it. Do you have that possibly? Also, special thanks to Ghost of Christmas Future for carrying out his role admirably. I appreciate that very much. So thanks, man. Good job. And I think I know who we're going to be raiding.
Talk to him.
I think I know exactly who we're going to be raiding, and it's that. Okay. There we go. The Arvanauts have landed, and the icon is Twitch Raid. Yes. So the icon, thank you, Dragon. It is Twitch Raid. So the Arvanauts have landed, followed by Twitch Raid, but the key is not to do that until you hear my audio outro. Once you hear my audio outro, then please do that and let those fall like a mighty stream within the chat of the channel that you're looking at. Before I do that, I want to thank everyone for having been here. It was really an awesome stream tonight. Please spread the word about the show. This is one of the reasons I want the channel to get partnered, because I'm just so excited about the community we've built here and so happy to be able to do stuff like this. I've talked a lot about the health situation that I've been dealing with over the last few months and, last year plus. And having this has been really helpful to me now that I've got my stream schedule on a normal time frame. That really helps me. And this was a blast. It was a pleasure to be able to listen to that and be a part of it. So thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who was here. Thank you to Dragon Spear. Again, thanks so much, Dragon, for handling all the extra bot commands there. Thank you to Satolbo, about which we will be speaking more soon, about Icarus and other things. Thank you to Shattermage and to Thorg. These are the best mods in the business, folks, for a reason. So thanks so much, guys. Thank you to my regulars. Thanks to Apples. Thank you to About That Life 96. I'm not sure if I've seen you in here before, About That Life, or Bronin, but if either one of you have been in here before, welcome back. And if not, welcome in. And I hope you will consider supporting the stream either by following the channel or by supporting the Patreon with !Arvtreon. Thank you to Corilla Sava. Thank you to Dragonwright, to Dr. Laser Falcon, also known as Russ. Thanks, dude. Thank you to EKEG. Thank you to Game Crashers, also known as Rob. Thank you. Thank you to the Ghost of Christmas Future. Much love. Thank you to Half Dorio. Thank you to Hand of Code. Also, thank you, Half Dorio, for the kind words earlier. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Thank you to Jagtris, as always. Thank you to J-Rab. Good to see you. Thank you to Jedi Knight, of course, as always. Thank you to Mr. Mano. Thank you to Murin. Murin, again, great job, as always. Thank you to Narnman, to Poltergeist Zero, to Roix. Thank you to Someplace Asleep. Thank you to Spurious, of course. Thank you to Ten of Clubs, as always. Thank you to Trendane. Trendane, again, man. So much love. Thank you so much, man. Thank you to Uncle Elias. Thank you to Vidistus. And thank you to Zimmy002. Great job tonight from everybody. And with that, we are going to go here, folks. We're going to go raid twitch.tv/GOGcom, which is currently playing Dragon Age Origins, and I believe it's Natural Dave who's playing it right now. So we're going to go over there and give some love over to a fellow GOGcom streamer, Natural Dave. So let's go over there as soon as you hear my audio outro. That's it for me. Love you all. You're the best viewers on Twitch. I will see you all tomorrow for some D&D with viewers, and until then, as Tiny Tim himself observed, God bless us, everyone. Have a good night.
Fresh and new, when it all seemed clear to you, when your aim was straight and true. Were your mind untroubled by the questions in the dark, content to play your part, open pathways to your heart? Were your life untainted by a host of broken dreams, when all your acts were queens, understood all that it means? Could you have understood the way your life was bound? Did you ever wonder how you got from there to now? Oh yes, you're gonna fly away from here, where the sky grows more clear, and your problems disappear, drift away down below. Watch them go down to your friends, where the trouble never ends, and there's always just one more day left to go. Search now through your pile of broken lies and your set of fake goodbyes, another cynical disguise. When will they catch you? All those little things you said, will it turn around instead? Blame the voices in your head. With all your subtle language, try and turn your life around. If your center gets unwound, you do your best to slow things down. And if you feel things that you never felt before, things that shook you to your core, a shattered truth you can ignore. Oh yes, you're gonna fly ambition. Life is only what you make. When it comes to your own vision, when you got